Hendrix College is our longtime polling partner on all of our public opinion surveys. Dr. Jay Barth leads that effort, and he now joins us. Jay, thanks for being here.
Sure, Roby.
We're like 6 years in running or something like
Indeed,
that, man.
indeed.
It's maybe
Indeed.
7. We're going on. We need to calculate that.
And we've got more right than wrong. A lot more right than wrong.
Well, we haven't got anything wrong. Maybe just 1 or 2, but it's been good. So, well, let's start. In the block before this, I walked through some of the poll results from our latest survey that went out about a week ago. And I want to start with the number on party ID because I think this is a monumental shift if it indeed holds up over time. 43% of people identified as Republicans, and all of that movement came from independents, by and large, from what we've seen traditionally. So after 3 election cycles and 6 years, are we pretty close to saying that independent voters who've been voting Republican, 3-1, 4-1, are they Republicans now?
Yeah, well, I think what we've seen over our previous elections is that we had a lot of folks who were independents, but then when you followed up and asked which party do you lean towards, they actually were leaning Republican. And we have a lot of evidence that if somebody leans towards a party, they're pretty much with that party.
Well, and when they were asked for selection of certain candidates too, we would see them by some
independents,
huge
overwhelmingly
margins,
Republican. Yeah. And so the big question is, have they crossed that Rubicon and moved to the Republican Party? You know, I think we need to be careful about over assuming on one poll, but I think it's certainly something we want to watch. It is a big step. It's an important step if it happens, and it really, I think we know that the Democrats have had some real challenges in this state. That only raises that wall against a Democratic comeback a little bit more.
Why would it be such a big wall for Democrats there? Because they would have trouble recruiting candidates because they wouldn't be competitive in certain races anymore. I mean, give a little more color on that.
Yeah, well, I think that if you have a party that really, at its foundation and the base of any electoral system, of course, are the voters. If the voters simply are kind of locked in with a party identification, with a psychological attachment to a political party that basically says, unless I've got the best reason in the world, I'm gonna support my party. If it's nearing a majority, that makes it really difficult to really have folks justify running for office. Even if they can win, going to the legislature and being in the minority week in, week out, it starts to kind of create a really challenging environment for a political party. Now, I think we need to be careful. We don't know that we're there yet, but I think that this is very worrisome and something I think we need to keep our eye on. One thing that we do in our polling is we do not wait on political party.
Right.
We only wait on demographics because we know that demographics, we can look at past election results and say, this is how many African Americans, this is how many men and women were part of an election environment. We can wait on those with confidence. We've never waited on party, and that's why we've been able to see these shifts in partisanship across our 6+ years of polling.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the presidential race. Improving numbers for Trump really across the board. He was in late June when we last polled the presidential race. He was struggling with Republican voters. He was struggling with female voters. He seems to have shored up that support quite a bit. This uncomfortableness that I think Arkansas Republicans and independents have with Donald Trump seems to have evaporated.
Yeah, we did poll in a pretty bad week for Clinton. It was the week after the health incident, and so there may be a little artificiality to this, but clearly there's no doubt that Donald Trump has a healthy lead in the state. Arkansas is a really good state for him demographically, is that, because of Arkansas's low education levels and disproportionately white electorate compared to other southern states, this is a place where Donald Trump voters are in pretty large numbers throughout the state. The only exceptions, of course, in the urban areas around Little Rock. And it will be interesting to see, when we move towards the next poll and final results, is what about those areas that do have larger numbers of well-educated whites? Nationally, certainly we've seen well-educated whites in the suburbs skew towards Clinton. We'll see if that happens here or not.
She's really become a nationalized Democratic candidate, though.
Right.
I mean, there is no political affiliation with her as an Arkansas politician.
No.
If there ever really was one. So
no, I think the only place you can maybe see a little bit of that kind of legacy is some pretty good fundraising numbers out of Arkansas for
Right.
Clinton. And obviously you have Arkansans who are tied to her campaign, but not in terms of the voters of the state.
Let's shift to the Senate race. Huge lead for John Bozeman. Really, that race hasn't moved a whole lot from where it was in June. He's bumped up a couple points. Connor Eldridge hasn't really had any movement at all. A month to go before early voting. This one seems a bit baked to me.
Yeah, I think that the question is what kind of investment of resources does the Eldridge campaign put into the race towards the end to try to close the gap, maybe try to meet expectations. But it's a tough race, and it was always a tough race. But we have seen some Senate races in other red states where the Democrats have actually gotten some traction, including right to our north, where in Missouri we've got a fairly competitive race with a Democrat who's really kind of come out of nowhere. Eldridge, I think a lot of folks thought might be that kind of candidate who could sneak up on Bozeman, but it just has not happened.
All right, we're going to take a break. He's Dr. Jay Barth with Hendrix College. We got a little bit more to get to, and then I want to come back to discuss the medical marijuana initiative. So Jay's going to come back for that portion of our show a little bit later on. After the break, Stacey Hurst with the Department of Arkansas Heritage explains the new Food Hall of Fame. I'm excited about this. And as I said earlier, we're back more with Jay Barth and brand new poll numbers on the 2 medical marijuana measures.